Today, my guest is a very special one. It's an original Mouseketeer, Doreen Tracey. Hi, Doreen.
Thank you, Jodie, for having me on the show.
It's just wonderful having you because I grew up watching you every single day.
And it seems like all of America did that too.
They did. I mean, it was the most popular kids show that I think that's ever been.
It had its magic. It's, you know, there's a certain time and place for certain activities, certain shows, and we had it.
You had it. And I know that you're very young when you joined the Mouseketeers, but let's go to the beginning because I know you grew up from a little kid, right, in the business.
Yes. My mother and father were Sid, Tracey, and Hay, and they were a dance act, and they were an opening act for everyone from Maurice Chevalier, George Burns and Gracie Allen, Bob Hope, and of course Ben Blue, who is my uncle.
Sure.
So they had a wonderful career. And then after the Second World War, after we came back to the United States, my parents were producing shows in England during the Second World War.
Now, were you born in England?
And I was born there during that time. We came back and settled in California, just like many families did.
Yeah.
And my father opened a dance studio called the Rainbow Studios. It was on Cahuenga and Hollywood Boulevard. And we had everybody from Debbie Reynolds rehearsing Singing in the Rain to Mr. Balanchine and his ballet company that would come to town twice a year. And even a gentleman named Pinky Lee.
Of course.
And he'd be rehearsing his show there. And of course, Uncle Milty. So we had quite a variety there. And that's the atmosphere I grew up in.
So you knew right away you were interested in becoming an entertainer?
Yes, but my parents were trying to discourage it. They,
really?
Yes, they said Hollywood child actors usually are adorable and turn out to be ugly old people. And you really don't want to do that. Your career will be over before it started.
Really? And you talked him out of it?
I basically did it because one day my father happened to be teaching a class, and I had to watch the front desk, and we received a phone call, and it was from a man from casting at Disney Studio named Mr. Traver. And he said, we're looking for talented young boys and girls that can sing and dance, play an instrument. Do you know of any? I said, oh, I know one little girl that's exceptional. I think she'd be right for Disneyland. Not knowing that it was going to be the Mickey Mouse Club. I just only knew about the Disneyland show. So of course he said, fine, here's my number. Make sure they come at on a certain day, certain time, and to bring their sheet music. So of course I told my father when he got done with his class, I said, I've got a part on Disneyland.
You would have been a good agent.
Oh, terrific, perfect. And he said, what are you talking about? He didn't know what he said, show me what you've written down. So of course, in my little child writing, he understood. He said, let me call him back, see what's going on. So he got the full lowdown. He said, Doreen, it's a casting call, and it's a cattle call. A cattle call, of course, in the business means everybody's going to be there.
Right.
He said, but I run a dancing studio. I have to post it. Everyone from my school has to go. And I was heartbroken because I was going to have to compete with some very good dancers.
Probably many, many kids showed up, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I got the job.
Yes, you did, and you're one of the originals.
One of the originals, with Annette and Tommy and Bobby, Karen and Cubby.
Yeah.
It was a good group.
They started out with more than that, didn't they? And then some were not kept, like Paul Peterson, Don Grady, a few of those that...
Right. There was 25 the first year. And then there was such a... I mean, we were doing an hour show at that time. And everything was filmed. We were filmed with 3 cameras. And at that time, we didn't have the pre-recording. We had a full band on the set when we were shooting. So everything was really almost live, but yet on film. And then they realized they could cut in half, and then maybe bring in some new, younger children that maybe could fill up the void as we went on into the second year. And that's when Cheryl, Mouseketeer Cheryl, joined us.
She came on. Yes. I see.
Who's now a countess.
Yeah.
I was telling you about it.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
some
right.
of the intrigues of the original group.
So how many were there altogether? About?
Altogether, I think there was like 42 Mouseketeers over the years of the original show. And there are 10 core members
That stayed.
that stayed through that whole period.
And that was what, 2, 3 years?
Actually, it was 3.5 years.
3.5.
Yes, and some of us stayed out there a couple more years. I was there, was about 11, and I left when I was not quite 16.
So what kind of life was that? How many hours a day? I know you had to have school, of course, at the studio.
Yes, that's mandatory by state California. You have to put in 3 hours and you have to have a work permit. We also, when we first started, had to work on Saturday.
Oh, so that was 6 days a week you were
6
working?
days a week.
Wow.
And of course, we could film all day. And just that first summer, which was the summer of 1955, the law came that everyone was working 5 days a week. And that also included the show business environment.
Right.
And then, but Mr. Disney was a taskmaster. And of course, children love Disneyland. And even though we were going on Saturday and Sunday and special holidays to perform 3 to 4 shows a day, we had access to the whole, I mean, it was just wonderful. Disneyland was our play-like.
Right.
Yeah,
So you could go
playground.
there and have fun. Plus, I know you entertained there also.
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, you were never a child. I mean, when you think about
No,
it.
I even to this day, I act like a child, but I was never a child.
Well, you probably act that way now because you weren't then. You know what I mean?
Well, I seem to be more of a child in appearance, but I'm always thinking.
Yeah. Because when you think about it, when you're that young growing up in the business, the responsibility, you were an adult. I mean, you have to be at work, you know, that's.
Yes, we did know we had a job, we had a responsibility, and we also knew we had 32 weeks in our contracts. And it was such a great life, and I believe any entertainer today still says it's a great life, because where can you go, like I'm on your show, Jodie, and talk about yourself for 20 minutes and have everybody focus on you? I mean, that's very infantile. But it's so enjoyable.
Of course.
I mean, who wouldn't like that?
Yeah,
You know,
and I mean, you'll always be known as a Mouseketeer, always.
Absolutely,
you know.
absolutely. And
You even wear your Mouseketeer.
I have my vest, and this, it seems like every time we have a reunion, they give us a retirement watch that happens to say, this one was for our 50th anniversary. I guess they'll give us one for our 60th.
Well, you just did one in October, right?
That's correct,
And
yes.
how did that go?
Oh, that was exciting. That was really exciting. I definitely padded my script and wanted to be the center of attention, and got it, to the dismay of the rest of the group. But they tolerate me.
They tolerate you well.
Yeah,
It's part of
it's-
like a family, right?
Yes, it is.
But that must be hard unless you, do you keep up your dancing today and keep limbering up, or, because that's a rough time to go and have to do, hours of
Yeah,
dancing
it
and
is.
rehearsals.
Well, we go, of course, sporadically, not all the time. But yes, through the years we keep up our dancing. In fact, I was telling you everyone should go to The Edge.
Okay.
The Edge is
I'm going
one
to
of
check that out.
the best dance studio in town,
Yeah.
in Hollywood.
Okay. So after the Mouseketeers, and you did go to a Hollywood professional school.
But only, now, I love all you guys that are from Hollywood Professional and actually graduated from there, letting me be part of your inner sanctum of group. But I only went there for a semester because I was going to Australia to do shows.
I see.
And I wanted to keep my grades up. But I was going to a Burbank school called John Burroughs.
Oh, sure.
John
Yeah.
Burroughs High. And I left there to go to HP, Hollywood Professional, because of going on that
Yeah,
road
because I
show.
always thought you were there for a long time.
Nope, only a
Oh.
semester.
Wow.
Only a semester, and then I believe I was really a rebel rouser when I was there. It was best that I did.
That's why we all know you?
Yes, well, you all know me, yes. I think I went to many of the parties.
So after the Mouseketeers were over with, what did you do after that?
I did the Donna Reed show. I did My Three Sons. I did Run for Your Life. I did
So you stayed in the business, did a lot of sitcoms.
many sitcoms, and was very frustrated because I also had gotten married and had a child, a young little baby boy, and I was feeling kind of out of sort because I was still playing 16-year-olds, and here I was 19 with a husband and a child, and there wasn't much that I could really express myself. So I put an act together and started going on the road, first for USO, and then I toured much of the hotel circuits around the world, and then hooked up and went to Vietnam with my show for about a year, and entertained the troops.
What